Absolutely, you can't make everything.
Two in the whole United States.
I couldn't make it.
Yeah. They wanted to keep the name in case they ever expanded, so that's why they opened.
He's a good guy. I like Joe.
One's in California and one's in New Jersey. Yeah. Thank you.
I call the meeting to order. Please rise for flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to have a moment of silence to remember the service and sacrifices of the armed service members to protect our nation and the first responders to protect our neighborhoods. Also, I'd like to add a moment of silence for the innocent people who were lost today and the police officers trying to protect them down in Jersey City.
That would be Detective Joseph Seal, the father of five, long veteran. We have some Jersey City police officers in town too as well.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Abrahamson? Councilmember Quinn?
Here.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Here.
Councilmember Noon?
Here.
Councilmember Kelly?
Here.
Councilmember Brooks?
Here.
Councilmember Jedina?
Here.
Vice President Jackson?
Here.
Council President Sackett?
Here. This meeting was advertised in Daily Record and the Star Ledger, the official newspaper for the Township of Rockaway, on September 14, 2019. Notice is posted on the official bulletin boards of Rockaway Township. Number 6, approval of minutes from November 26, 2019 regular meeting. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Abstain.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Jedina?
Abstain.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
President Sackett?
Yes. 6 yeses, 2 abstentions. Motion carries.
Council President, just
Yes,
wanted to note that Councilmember Abrahamson is here. The time is 7:32.
Thank you. Moving on to number 7, ordinances to adopt. We have ordinance 019-26, amending and supplementing Chapter 12, Building and Housing of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Rockaway to prohibit the short-term rental of residential property. Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Being that this is ordinance to adopt, we will now open this to the public. If there's anyone who'd like to speak, come on up. Just come on right up. You just come up.
Pat Degnan, 88 Valley View Drive. I'd like to thank the council for taking on this ordinance and doing it so quickly for the benefit of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Jerry Primavera, 29 West Lakeshore Drive. As a 33-year resident, I wish to applaud the mayor and council for introducing and supporting this ordinance. I also want to acknowledge the dedication to our township employees in planning, zoning, administration, police department, road and recycling departments. The taxpayer-supported resources of each of these aforementioned departments have been impacted by the short-term rental activity that this ordinance addresses. I trust that the council's pending action will promote the safety and security of all Rockaway Township families, while also protecting the property value of its homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Just come right up. See your name and address for the record.
My name is Art Crane, 30 Telemark Road.
Real quick, Mr. Crane, I'm sorry. Mr. Crane may believe that this is the open public portion for something additional to what the ordinance is.
This is only pertaining to ordinance 19-26.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
the open public portion is after this, Mr. Crane.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Michael Alardi, 19 North Brookside Drive. I'd also like to thank the mayor and the council for addressing this issue. It's, I'm not here as representing White Meadow Lake, but being the president of White Meadow Lake, the only comments and feedback I've got regarding the short-term rentals has been in favor of this ordinance. No one's come to me to be against this ordinance, so I appreciate your support in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll open it up for council discussion. Any council discussion? Mr. Kelly?
I do. I just have one quick question. Maybe Mr. Yatrofano could assist me on this, or maybe Mrs. Ferrante. We have Section 12-19 prohibited uses under this ordinance 19-26. And in the second paragraph, I'm only going to read a small section of it. It says, "This article does not apply to lawfully established and operating hotels, motels, rooming houses, boarding houses, and bed and breakfast establishments." Do we have any record of any bed and breakfasts that are in Rockaway Township, as well as the White Meadow Lake area? Look, it says lawfully established, so I don't know if there's like a pre-existing nonconformity that had taken place, and there's a certificate of nonconformity, or if there's been approvals for bed and breakfasts.
Anything, Allison or Mr. Yatrofano? Ms. Seeger? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none?
Council President?
Mr. Jedniak?
Council President, my understanding of the genesis of this ordinance had to do with some short-term rentals that were specifically Airbnb, which is why I believe that the language in the ordinance reads that the township wishes to prohibit the short-term rental of residential dwelling units as well as advertisement of short-term rentals by website businesses specifically. Did the administration reach out to organizations or companies like Airbnb regarding their practices within the town?
Yeah, they were working on it for quite some time when this was brought to us a while back, so they did reach out and from a lot of different organizations. Jerry in the back had given us a lot of information as well, so it was quite helpful on a lot of stuff, same with the POA, and they've done their due diligence and research.
So, Council President, I don't know if anyone else saw this in their email, but we received a letter from Airbnb to the council.
I received no letter.
Yeah, so it's addressed to, in order, Councilmember Noon, Councilmember Quinn, Councilmember Brooks, Council President Sackett, Councilmember Freelander, Councilmember Kelly, Councilmember Abrahamson, Council Vice President Jackson, and Councilmember Jednack. So I'd like to read a few portions of this letter, unless they're here. No. So it's, the person who's writing is Liz Fusco, and she identifies herself as an Airbnb public policy and communications representative.
What's the date on that?
It is dated today. And so, items of this letter that I found of interest. I'm reaching out on behalf of Airbnb's public policy team regarding short-term rentals in Rockaway Township, New Jersey. We urge the township to adopt regulations that support responsible home sharing and the economic value it provides to households and businesses in your community. Rockaway Township has a small but active host community opening their homes to travelers. Some notable aspects of the local home sharing community include Rockaway is home to 10 listings. 10. A typical listing in Rockaway Township is rented for 5 nights per month. 67% of hosts in the township are women. 11% of hosts are age 60 or older. While every municipality has unique needs when it comes to regulating short-term rentals, we encourage the township to consider the following methods of regulating and monitoring home sharing. The first is registration. Putting in place a registry for short-term rentals allows municipalities to monitor hosting activity and determine whether a local responsible party should an issue arise. Enforcement. They write that enforcement is often most effective when tied to quality of life concerns emanating from the community. And while these are very rare, they say that some municipalities have targeted STR enforcement in response to complaints about party houses and other neighbor concerns. The next item is insurance. They say that they provide insurance as part of every listing in the U.S. It protects against third-party claims of property damage and bodily injury up to $1 million. Airbnb states their commitment to collecting taxes. They say that here in New Jersey, they fought for years to enact legislation that would allow them to pay taxes, which they say they achieved last summer. Since the law went into effect October 2018 through January 2019, they have remitted $4 million in tax revenue to the state. They list a number of tools that they have available already, which include risk scoring to prevent bad actors from ever accessing their platform in the first place. Each and every Airbnb reservation is scored ahead of time for risk. They do background checks and they have watch lists, and they say that while no background check system is infallible, they screen all hosts and guests against regulatory, terrorist, and sanctions watch lists. For the U.S., they also run background checks looking for prior felony convictions, sex offender registrations, and significant misdemeanors. And they're working with additional government agencies to identify where they can do more background checks. They have a review system that ensures that one can see what other guests in the community have thought about a potential host or home. Guests and hosts can publicly review each other and do so after a reservation is complete, so that you know that the feedback is based on actual experience.
Okay.
They have
I see the email, so.
okay, yeah, so,
Yeah, it went to the
Yeah.
junk. I think it was super important. Maybe she'd have reached out at
Yeah.
1 o'clock
So-
today.
yeah. So, Council President, it doesn't sound like anyone reached out to them that they sent this. So, they also mentioned that last month, they announced a number of new initiatives, including party
Okay.
house
All
ban.
right, let's get to the point.
Council President,
Okay.
I'm
Got a
reading
couple
it.
of- Yeah, we don't need 20 minutes to go on about it.
Right, so I'm reading the highlights, Council President. So last month, they say that they announced a new series of initiatives, including a party house ban.
Okay.
So all open invite parties and events are now banned in Airbnb accommodations. They verify all 7 million listings in Airbnb. Homes are verified for accuracy of the listing and quality standards, including cleanliness, safety, and basic home amenities. They also have an Airbnb neighbor hotline, which is a 24/7 neighbor hotline so that anyone can call them anytime, anywhere, reach a real person at Airbnb. And they staff that with a rapid response team so that neighbors can reach them directly with any concerns. And the phone number is placed prominently on their homepage, in their app, and easily searchable on Google. They also have a high-risk human review to address unauthorized house parties, and informed by previous pilots that they ran, they're expanding their manual screening of high-risk reservations flagged in their system. And in conclusion, they say that they urge the township to develop common-sense rules for engaging in home sharing, which set clear expectations for the host community, and they believe it's possible to set in place fair guidelines which target bad actors without stifling the economic opportunities and flexibility home sharing provides families. And Airbnb welcomes the opportunity to discuss regulatory solutions for Rockaway Township. Please do not hesitate to reach out to them directly with questions or concerns.
Thank you.
So, Council President, so I read that, which we apparently received today in our junk mail. It seems clear from the email that there weren't communications with Airbnb. Being able to host Airbnb rentals is not something I've ever done on either side of a transaction, but I know many people who've done it. It's one of the things that you can do with your property, and by banning it completely,
But it doesn't,
for
Mr. Jeniak.
I'll finish and I'll let you
Okay.
have the floor. So, by banning it completely, which is what our ordinance that's up for adoption says here tonight, for 10 users, which let's assume for argument's sake that all 10 are bad actors, we have 10,000 parcels in Rockaway Township. So 9,990 other property owners are being affected by 10. And I think that the suggestions that they've made here in this letter, including have a registration, which if one existed today would have 10 entries on it, seem like there are other options short of an outright ban. And I think that especially since we haven't spoken to this organization, we should ask communication, we should take a closer look at this ordinance before adoption.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anyone else real quick?
Just real quick, I
Yeah,
will.
please.
And Councilman Jenny, as I had stated before, I asked the town attorney in regards to the prohibited uses. I believe it states, though, pretty clearly, if it's a lawfully established operating, in this case, bed and breakfast, in addition to other areas, operating hotels, motels, rooming houses, and boarding houses, this wouldn't apply or put any strains or restrictions on those who wish to take advantage of that if, in fact, they have a lawful bed and breakfast that's either compliant to our codes and approved by our zoning and construction and whatever additional departments that need the approval to move forward with that. So, reading that, getting that letter that we had today, and asking that particular question, are we aware of any lawful bed and breakfasts? And the answer was, we don't know. So those who rent as a bed and breakfast without having lawfully established that would be in violation of this ordinance. Those that are lawful, then it wouldn't be affected, that want to take advantage of those 9,990 people that wish to choose maybe to do a bed and breakfast, but it's permitted in their zone, in their dwelling, and it meets all the requirements that we have. I'm not sure if the letter that we received from the Airbnb regards to the ordinance that is here now, specifically under 1219 with prohibited uses, would apply. I'm just throwing it out there from what I'd seen, what I had read, and what I had questioned prior to your comment. That's all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Council President?
No, please call the
Council
roll.
President? Why wouldn't we have further discussion? There's
You've been
obviously
going on
further
long
discussion
enough.
to have here.
Going
I
on
think
long
there
enough.
needs to be clarification as to whether Airbnb is
No.
affected by this or
We're
not.
going to call the roll.
My understanding
You
is
can
that it
vote
would be,
as-
because that's
how you
why it
like,
was designed
as
this
usual.
way.
Vote how you like. We're going to be calling the roll. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Abrahamson?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak?
No.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
President Sackett?
Yes, 8 yeses, 1 no, motion carries. Moving on. Ordinance 19-27. Ordinance accepting the dedication of sanitary sewer line improvements on service real property located in the township of Rockaway. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Once again, since this is an adoption, I will open it up just for this ordinance. Anyone from the public liking to speak, please come up to the microphone. Seeing none, anyone from the council, we'll open it up for ordinance 19-27.
Council President?
Yes?
Council President, the third paragraph of ordinance 27 references, it states the developer intends to dedicate the off-track sanitary sewer line improvements which have been specifically identified by the description prepared by Bowman Consulting Group dated November 13, 2019, which is submitted herewith as Exhibit A, and depicted on the Pondview Estates utility as-built for Union Turnpike with a revision date of April 1st, 2019, and is submitted herewith as Exhibit B, and both made a part hereof by reference. Council President, our copy of Ordinance 27 doesn't include an Exhibit A, it doesn't include an Exhibit B, and there wasn't either in our backup documentation, nor is there anything referencing either on the township's website for the public.
Chrissy, was that in? I think it was in there. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was in there. Yeah. Yeah. Was it? Okay. Okay. It was. Okay. clerk said you should have it. It was in the email.
Right. Why wouldn't it have been made available to the public for this meeting, where they have public input?
Should have been on there from last meeting. Anything else? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Abrahamson?
Abstain.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Juddanack?
No.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
President Sackett?
Yes. 7 yeses, 1 abstention, 1 no. Motion carries. Moving on, ordinance 19-28. An ordinance authorizing the conveyance of a perpetual easement to provide access to a certain dedicated sewer line improvement to provide sanitary sewer service to real properties adjacent to Union Turnpike and Route 15. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Once again, since this is ordinance to adopt, we'll be opening it up to the public. If anyone would like to come up and speak on this ordinance, please come up and do so. Seeing none, any discussion by the council?
Just one quick
Mr.
question.
Kelly?
Is there any involvement at all with the town of, or the borough of Wharton?
Administration?
Not with this sanitary sewer line.
Okay, thank you.
Anything, anyone else?
Council President?
Yes.
Paragraph number 3 of ordinance 28 references a description prepared by Bowman Consulting dated June 12, 2019, attached hereto and made a part hereof as Exhibit A. Council President, ordinance 28 does not have an Exhibit A, nor did we receive one in the backup, nor was it provided to the public on the town's website with the agenda.
It would have been attached to the email that went out to the council initially, probably for the introduction last month. They do come in separate attachments. The ordinances are not prepared with the exhibits attached. I do apologize. And other than that, I have no explanation for you.
So, Council President, how is the public supposed to be informed about those exhibits to be able to ask intelligent questions tonight when there's open to the public specifically on this?
They were advertised, the public has an opportunity. If anyone has any questions, I already offered them, they can come up. They have it, here, so no one came up, so I think we're pretty good otherwise. Anything else? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Abrahamson?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Juddanack?
No.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
President Sackett?
Yes, 8 yeses, 1 no, motion carries. Moving on.
Council President,
To
can I be
number 8.
recognized real quick? Tonight, we have the open public portion that's coming up right now. In the audience, we have Mr. Flynn, who is a JCP
I got him
now.
on here.
You do, and I
Yeah.
was just thinking, because he's had a very long day, to go back to his family, if there's a way we can maybe make him go first, and then, if it's okay?
He's 4th or 5th down. He's fine waiting.
You okay? That's
Yeah,
all, just to
okay.
apply some courtesy, that's it.
He's good. Thank you. Moving on, open to the public, just real quick. Chapter 2 Administrative Code, Articles 4, Meetings of the Council, Addressing the Council. Any person desiring to address the council shall first seek recognition by the presiding officer, provided, however, that a portion of the regular monthly public meeting and the monthly conference agenda meeting shall be open to the public comment. Upon recognition by the chair, a person shall give his name and address in an audible tone of voice for the records. Unless further time is granted by the council, he shall limit his statement to 5 minutes. Statement shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any member thereof. A councilman should not direct any question to a speaker addressing the council except through the presiding officer. Up here we have Michael Klein.
Good evening, Council President.
Good evening.
I just want to bring to your attention a certain matter with a particular council member. Showed up at Mike Klein, 16 Torden Place.
Thank you.
Particular council member decided to visit my place of employment yesterday. I guess assuming to get me fired, wasn't much appreciated. he said I own a town district, or use a district truck. I'm the supervisor of buildings and grounds for Rockaway Borough School. So on my lunch, I come home, do stuff. He brought it to my supervisor's attention, and he, I'm assuming, used his council member status as far as getting some of the info, because normally the BA and the superintendent wouldn't release such info to just anybody walking in and asking. They would have them fill out an Oprah or whatever. I use my truck for work. I go back and forth during lunch. Yesterday, the day in question, I had some scrap metal. We do shared services with the town. Basically accused me of using the truck for personal use, asking who's authorized to take it home, which is none of his concern, quite frankly. Accused me of speeding. So I'm assuming that the council members don't have radar in their vehicles. So I would like to leave that to the, proper authorities if there was a speeding complaint or anything else. Since this issue, I've had problems with the fire department regarding this particular council member. I was responding to a structure fire, had to pass somebody, and there was a complaint received, again, with regard to personal vehicle driving. I was suspended for 3 weeks with, just based on basically no investigation, just,
You admitted to it.
word. I crossed the
You
WL,
admitted to
which
it.
is, it's
Let
a
him
report of,
speak.
it's a report of a structure fire, so we're trying to take them a little more seriously. So, absolutely, I had to pass somebody. Some of these roads are not wide enough for two vehicles to pass, and the current law states that the vehicle in front needs to yield until I pass.
Leave it off.
Well, I can't pass if I can't fit. So yes, I was in oncoming traffic momentarily. I've since purchased a dash cam because obviously it's needed. But this harassment has been going on since 2018, when me and my wife signed a petition to remove a different council member. It was a recall, and that was when this council member came to my house and asked as far as, why we vote, why we signed the petition, and I didn't have a problem with said council member until that happened. Now all of a sudden it seems to be an issue, there's harassment, and I'm quite frankly getting tired of it. He's trying to affect my livelihood, but, thankfully my supervisor did a quick Google search, and everything was dismissed as far as the, accusations. But I really don't appreciate it. I just don't appreciate it at all as far as using your title as a council member to come to my work. There was no business other than that at my school district. And like I said, my reputation in the borough is pretty good. I've done a lot of good things for the school. There's other people that, we work with DPWs, we work with Parks and Rec. I've cleaned it up pretty good. So I just want you to be aware of the behavior that's going on with, said council member. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sorry to hear about that.
There's nothing to apologize, Mr. Sackett.
Please, everyone shut their mics off.
And Mr. Sackett, he is being investigated by the borough
Okay,
itself.
please shut your mic off. Please shut the mic. Mr. Kelly, please, administration, maybe we can take a look into this and see about this issue.
Yes, we will.
Thank you. Could you shut your mic off, please?
So you're recognized.
Mr. Kelly, could you please shut your mic off till it's your turn to talk? Thank you. Moving on to next, Jennifer Franco. Jennifer Franco? No? Okay, not here. Dave Press?
Dave Press, 71 Oakland Avenue. A couple things I want to comment on, but I think that action should be taken against Mr. Kelly. As we all know, this is far from the first time he's done anything like this. And if there's some way to censure him, somewhere, maybe it's time to try and remove him from the council, because enough is certainly enough. And, it's bad enough when he goes after people in town, like he threatened to go after me, but to go after someone in another town, that's, so, okay, and what I was planning on saying, okay, since I couldn't be at the,
No cursing, please.
okay.
You.
Since I couldn't be at the November 26th meeting, I want to say, hope everyone had happy Thanksgiving. I also want to say a couple things I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that Ms. Abramson and Mr. Jedniak will no longer be on the council, and I'm thankful the council meetings will be much shorter because they'll no longer be on the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Alardi.
Michael Lardy, 19 North Brookside Drive. One of the things I brought up in the past about the old Middletown, West Lake Shore, the shrubs, it looks like one of them has been cut and the visibility is much improved. So thanks for addressing that. The comments that were read regarding Airbnb sending a letter, I'm glad we have someone here to stand up for them. The background checks would be done on the person renting the property. We have no idea who the guests of the renter would be. I mean, I know this passed already, but I'm going to say my point anyway. But who knows what's going on in those houses? If they are doing a background check on someone that books the place, we have no idea who's they're inviting to the facility. And no one who is renting their property has come to the council to defend themselves renting the properties. The only issues that have come before this council have been people that have been affected negatively by it. So to have someone stand up for it when nobody in the township has come before this body in defense of it, you wonder who they're working for.
Yeah, they could have called.
And for bed and breakfast it's a totally different thing, because a bed and breakfast, you're opening up your home to somebody and you're there and you're serving breakfast. You don't have an empty home where you have no idea what's going on. So that's a totally different venue to be used as. Thank you for passing that, and Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Lil Sweet?
Bill Sweet, 1 Oakland Avenue. I want to commend the police department, the road department, first of all, for the road department for what a wonderful job they did clearing all our roads during that terrible snowstorm. But on Thanksgiving Day, I myself had an emergency in my house. I had to call the police. They were wonderful. I had a leak in the house that I would have had a flood in my entire basement on Thanksgiving Day. When I spoke to them, they said they would get the emergency squad, the road department, to me right away, and I asked, how will I know? And they said the police will come and tell you. I think before I hung up, the 2 policemen were there to help me. With that, they called up the emergency road department, and Dave, whoever Dave is, he should be commended. He came in. They could not find the shut-off valve from the street to the house because of the snow, but they got it to work with a funnel and a hose, whatever it be. So I have to commend them for that. They came back a couple of days without me knowing, and they had to cut my shrubs, and they knew how I felt about my shrubs, so they were very careful. They found the shut-off valve. And I have to commend whoever came out those days, too, for a wonderful job. And we are very fortunate, the people living in Rockaway Township, to have the police and fire department, the road department, the administration, working together now to see the township is running beautifully. I thank you for that. Now, I also thank you. I also want to know, can I have an answer to my request last meeting about what it cost the township for every member of the council individually for the year of 2019, what was paid for attorney fees. I don't want one sum. I'd like to know what it cost each and every one of our taxpayers to pay for your attorney fees. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Flynn?
Thank you. Bob Flynn, 30 Elm Street, Morristown, New Jersey. Again, my name's Bob Flynn. I just started with Jersey Central Power and Light about 7 months ago. Right now, I'm making sort of a tour to the 30 towns that I'm assigned to, mostly in Morris and Passaic County. Just to introduce myself, probably some of you get my outage notifications for the county. Now you can put a face with the name. So the other portion of this meeting is to bring some good news in terms of what the utility is doing. We have just received approval from the Board of Public Utilities to enact a 2-phase project, which is increased vegetation management. Primarily, we always have the right by BPU ordinance to trim in what's called the lockout zone. So right outside the substation where the circuits feed out into the streets is called Zone 1. We now have approval to go into trimming in terms of Zone 2, which is more of the secondary streets that run along the main sections through the township. Those residents that we are contacting to do that additional tree trimming, we are having to receive written approval for. So we're having our foresters and contractors go out to these residences, so we're not just taking down trees without notice. The second phase of this is called Device. It's a smart piece of technology, which normally if you've seen a fuse cutout box, when you have a fault that happens on that line, the fuse ends in a downward position. The next step of that process is usually a troubleshooter coming from one of the line shops, inspecting the whole length of circuit to make sure that when he pops that fuse back in, that it's done safely and, with our guidelines. And, that sometimes for some of these circuits, which are multiple miles, takes quite a bit of time. This device we're installing, which Rockaway Township will be receiving actually quite a number of, is called a trip saver. It's very popular in Florida Power and Light. It's essentially an automated fuse cutout box. So this device will sense a transient fault on the line, open itself, and then attempt to reclose itself, I believe, 3 times in about 5 minutes. So we're going to be instituting these in the township on areas where we're most troubled in terms of our tree-related outages. So we're not just kind of picking random spots to put them. We're methodically going into the numbers of tree-related outages and trying to hit those sections with the increased vegetation management as well as these trip savers. So it's good, exciting news, and we're hoping it's going to improve reliability. And then as we get, hopefully improve statistics of that reliability, we can expand this service into different sections of each of our towns, as well as some of the towns that aren't receiving it in the first section to expand that. So this work will be completed by the end of 2020. As that sort of comes to completion, my job will be to come back and kind of update you on the sections, on where we'd be putting these on which circuits out of which substation. They're very hard to miss. They're very large fuse cutouts. You can see them hanging in the fuse position. So as that wraps up, I'll come back to town. And lastly, or second to last, I want to just thank everyone here for the efforts for last week. We did have a number of residents out in the township. We do appreciate the police, fire, OEM, all the offices that are involved with the resident safety out here for helping us and kind of working with us. So I just want to extend that thanks on behalf of JCP&L. And then lastly, the fun part of this is we do sponsor events and things like that in our towns. We're very involved in the community, and we continue to do that. My role was empty for about 2 years prior to me filling it. So if there are things in town, mayor and a lot of the administration and some of the council have my information, so please reach out to me. I'd love to, become more involved in the community as I get further along in this job. So thanks for having me, and nice to meet all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Quick question?
On that stuff. First of all, Mr. Flynn, you were very helpful throughout that storm for answering a lot of the questions I had for people that were out. Just so people know, we had 1,000 customers that were out of Rockaway Township. Dropped it down significantly down to 600 and 400. Then there was a small little glitch that came up back to 8, but then it dropped back down again. And then we're right around with the 330, and then you were dropping it down to the 100 and the small areas in Jerry Place and some up in the Upper Hibernia area that's there. Being involved with JCP&L, and even like when I would go out and there's certain areas that I get a call, I would give poll numbers and do the best I can with dispatching you. And trying to triangulate the area of the issues that are there, whether it's damage, just a trip breaker, or a fuse. Is there anything that we can do as an administration to help assist you or JCP&L of maybe there's potential training? Like when we had an informative seminar that Council President Sack and I attended to down in Morristown, and I've been there before. If there's something that maybe our administration or our DPW guys, whether it's training to visually be your eyes and ears, because you're limited on crews. Even though you brought in crews, you still have your Dover crew coming out, Morristown crews coming out, and then Sussex and every other place. I mean, you had 21,000 people that were out of power. But what can we do, A, to help facilitate JCP&L in locating those issues, B, informing our residents, like I do Facebook posts and take photographs of the areas in there and information that I get. And I know there's a designated time, which is a global time that they consider it as, but then there's always that projection of getting it done sooner for those individuals. And then there's some people that there's just a trip area that only results to 5 homes that are out of power, but residents don't understand that you, JCP now, not you specifically, are trying to get the vast amount of people on one repair and then working your way down.
Right.
So it's a two-part question. What can we do to assist you, and what can we do to notify the public of either links, website, informative tools that we can put up? I mean, we have a Nixle that's, all limited in what we provide. So I don't know if there's something there you can
Yeah,
give us some kind of information or request some information.
sure. So the biggest, most important piece for us is to have the residents report their outages. I know I was working closely with you as well as Pat for posting some of the information on the town's Facebook, which we do appreciate. That My Town map that we activate is a great feature. A lot of the timeframes that we get are the same that are posted on that website. So we, oftentimes in some of the 30 towns that I have, they'll post that on the actual township website for residents to use or include it in a Nixle if they're sending it out. But that's the most important piece of it, is we can't assume that the same circuit is your neighbor. There's usually 3 phases on each of the distribution line, and like I said, your neighbor could be on a different circuit, and the way we generate that information is when we receive the actual outage notification and call from that customer. So the more people that call into us, the easier it is to determine that size and the severity of that outage. So that's a very big piece, as well as you mentioned, we're going to be, I'm actually in charge of starting up the North Jersey DCC, our dispatch center tours, that we'll be doing for mayor, administration, council, and other people to kind of educate on, what is our restoration process, what are the areas we try and hit first, as well as the actual role of some of the people in that dispatch center, as well as the crews that actually do the work.
Mm-hmm.
So, but most importantly, it's really reporting the outages that will, help us accurately predict the amount that is affected in the township.
And it would be recommended for residents or customers, I should say, that call in to request a callback for that, because there was an incident that was on in Upper Hibernia area, Notch Road in Green Pond. The right side of Notch Road was restored, and because of some of the customers on the left side, the odd bank, they were thinking that, bless you, that did not have power, got their power restored, but some of them didn't get a call back, so they're still thinking that they're working on the line. Meanwhile, the line's been restored and the ticket has been deleted.
Right.
And they would have to have another ticket started again from that person calling, with a complaint.
And to touch on that, we're going to be taking a deeper dive into the callbacks, because occasionally we'll get reports back from customers that they will get calls back saying your power is restored. And if they're staying somewhere else and they're traveling that distance to come home to see that it's not the case, it's frustrating.
Right.
So we're going to be taking a deeper dive, especially from each storm that we have. We've received that feedback. So we're going to be looking into how we can better generate that information for the customers. But essentially, when they do call it, that transformer that's on the pole that feeds that number of houses on that particular street, if we get a certain number of calls, that will auto-generate a number that's affected, saying, okay, I've received, 4 calls from this Jefferson Street in Rockaway Township, let's say, and 4 of them are off this transformer, but there's actually 30 total, so we can assume that there's most likely 30 out on this street.
Right.
But again, the more that report and the quicker they report, the better. And they can report it through our website, through the phone number. They can actually text a number. It's on the bottom of my signature as well for my email. But
Could they report on the app too? You have the app?
I can check. I'm not sure if they
Okay.
can. I would think they can, but
Yeah.
I know at least through
I
the website.
have the app. It looks
Yeah,
like you can
the
as
phone
well.
call you can, and
Yeah.
the text is a good one. That's actually one I use for
Okay.
when mine goes out. So, but we do have a lot of linemen that live up in the area as well, and a lot of times people think that we're just people from Ohio. That's First Energy, our company,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of residents that live in these towns, and this is their neighborhood as well. They care about these residents, and we want to get them back as quick as possible.
Thank you so much.
And I also
Appreciate it.
I don't want to mention real quick too that JCP now goes above and beyond for your vegetation maintenance that you guys do on your tree trimming and whatnot. And you give us a notice of the areas that you're doing, and they're always out there, whether it's Davy Trees or NGG that's going out, that's handling it. And also Osmos doing the pole maintenance and everything else they do in the inspections, where under the statute, I think it's 12 years, but you guys do 10 years.
Correct.
So you up it 2 years. So they're very active in what they do in trying to minimize any of these issues. And I think because of your preventive maintenance that you do, it limited the amount of losses that we had as far as customers in Rockaway Township and everywhere.
Yeah, in Sussex
Thank
County,
you.
especially with that.
Let's go to the mayor.
Sure.
Yeah, Bob, I want to thank you for being in contact with myself and the administration during the storm. And you guys have been excellent throughout the year. There's been other issues that I've been dealing with that the administration has had concerns that have not been just storm-related. You guys have been excellent. You've been responsive. The only way to deal with a storm is real time.
Right.
It's that changing dynamic. Power goes out, power comes on, other issues come through. And during this last outage, we were in touch regularly. We had mayors' conferences, phone calls that we call in that have been helpful, where myself and the administration can call in and listen to what's going on real time, because that's the only way to deal with these type of incidents is real time. We have mechanisms in place. I have Ms. Seeger, our business administrator. She puts out notifications as best as she can on social media, on our website. So we do try to be on Nixle alerts. We do try to push out as much information as we can. It's not about perfection all the time, because we're never going to be perfect, but the process that we have, we try to improve it on it each and every time. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Moving on to, okay.
Mr. Kelly, can you please shut off your mic? And the only reason why I'm saying is because live stream, when you watch live stream, all you could hear is you shuffling papers and writing, and you can't hear with that.
You're listening to a live stream now to?
No, but I've listened to the live stream, and all you hear is you shuffling papers, and it's disruptive. And
Thank you. Pat Degnan.
Pat Degnan, 88 Valley View Drive. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish the council and the administration and all the workers in the town a happy and healthy Christmas and Hanukkah and New Year. And thank you for what you've done in the last couple of months. You've really, really stepped up to the plate, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat. Mr. Kelly, can you please turn off the mic? Thank you. Mr. Waters.
Jim Waters, 48 Seneca Avenue in the township. Mr. Council President, Council, member of the administration, Blue Team, and the long-suffering taxpayers of Rockaway Township. It's nice to be here. I believe this is the last regularly scheduled meeting of the council for this year. Started out a little slow, but I think finished with a strong flourish. I have to say, I'd hoped we'd get through at least one more meeting without the droning inanities from a particular council person, but we weren't so lucky. But the good news is, it's the last time we're going to hear from that individual on this side of the dais. I did have one other question. Was a case filed in October in General Equity Court. Messrs. Kelly and Schmidt versus the Township of Rockaway, C-100-19.
That's not accurate. That's not accurate, Officer.
Well, I just took it off E-Court, so if you'd like to argue with them, Mr. Kelly.
Let's, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Waters, speak.
My curiosity
Yep, let's speak.
my curiosity is the last time I'm talking, Mr. Kelly. I'm talking, Mr. Kelly. Stifle yourself. Last time I looked, John Schmidt, whom I originally welcomed here in the township because he brought a lot of good ideas when he first came, and then he kind of went out of control. Last time I looked at his record, counting all the parts of the various suits he filed, he won 2 and he lost 13 parts. And rather than retreat, what it appears he's done is filed a suit to try to disqualify Judge Minkowitz, who he thinks is a radical judge, questioning the judge's integrity and intelligence. I would just like to know if there's anybody in the council or the administration who could shed some light on this particular matter, or if, because it's a lawsuit, you can't comment at this point.
I'll comment.
I would say
I have no problem commenting.
No. I would say with pending litigation, we'll
Not on
be
my
quiet.
end. I have my own litigation.
Well, we're
that's
going to
there.
move on. Art Crane.
My name is Art Crane at 30 Telemark Road, Rockaway Township. I have an issue with what's going on with this administration. Okay, they had a public auction for vehicles back in March, and the one vehicle in particular that I am in possession of, because I tow for the township, was not sold at that auction, and I'm entitled to have a title for that vehicle, and I've been going round and round with this administration for 9 months, trying to track down why I don't have a title. I've spoken to the clerk several times. When Bobby Sheard was here, he took over and tried to resolve the problem, and he couldn't, and then he retired. But the last issue, my understanding from the clerk, was that all the paperwork was in order, that she needed approval from the administrator to make application for this title, and she would do it by certified mail, so I could be notified that, because I wound up going round and round with Trenton, and they said, after Bobby Sheard promised me that he had submitted the applications to them, they had no record of them. But when Bobby Sheard retired, they found all of that paperwork in his desk or wherever he filed it, and I have not heard. The last time I had any conversations was with the clerk about a month ago, and she was going to notify me as soon as the application was applied for, and I haven't heard anything. So I'm very frustrated with the fact that I don't have title for this vehicle, and I cannot do a thing with it. And somehow, I have to have some answers as to exactly what's going on here.
Mr. Crane, just real quick.
No, you're not.
How
Mr.
much-
Crane,
how
we're
much
going to get
money
you at
are
the
you
end.
owed, Mr. Crane? How much money was
You're
there?
not recognized, Mr. Crane. Thank you.
How much money are
Thank
you
you.
owed, Mr. Crane?
How much money?
No,
Yeah,
you're not
yeah,
answering
how much
him.
money are you owed?
You're not answering him. It comes through me. I'm the council president.
Okay,
Everything's addressed to me, not to Mr. Kelly.
okay.
So if you don't have anything else, I'm going to handle this, all
You
the
can say it,
questions at
Mr.
the
Crane.
end.
How much
So
money are you owed?
You can sit down.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Next,
It's over 10,000.
Mr. Dio.
Patrick Dio, 11 Valley Road. Reading the agendas and the minutes, I understand that the Board of Assessment Commission is going to be scheduling meetings, and I'd like a few questions with respect to that. One, will that schedule of meetings be published?
It's already been published.
Excuse me?
It's already been published.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Are those meetings open to the public?
Yes.
And will minutes of those meetings be available to the public?
Yes,
I would say yes.
it follows under OPMA.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
And then I have another thing. With respect to the agenda, in the past, when I would go online for the agenda, I'd be able to do a click on, to open up the item that's on the agenda, whether it's a resolution or an ordinance. Well, the agenda for this meeting, I wasn't able to do that. And I'm wondering if it's just a happenstance that there was a mess up, or is it a new policy of the council administration? So, but I was not able to get into reading all the things that were on the agenda, and although I was able always to get it in the past.
No.
By the click on, it comes up blue.
No, all of the resolutions and ordinances were hyperlinked on the agenda. I know Mrs. Dagnan had an issue with the last meeting as well, so we might be having a problem with the links.
Council President,
It's something that we can look into.
We can double check that for you.
Council President,
I appreciate that. The other
Council
thing,
President,
One
before
second.
before we
One
move
second.
off of that,
1 second.
it's relevant to that.
1 second. Continue.
so, okay, you say you're gonna check into it.
We'll check into that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One last thing I have with respect to the agenda. I was going through the consent agenda, and like I said, there's a lot of stuff on here, and I wasn't able to review it because I wasn't able to get into it. But it seems to me that the consent agenda has a lot of items on it other than what I would call like SOP kind of things. And they're in the consent agenda. And my understanding of a consent agenda is that a motion is made to approve it, boom, no discussion, no dialogue. And so in terms of transparency, there's things on here that I would like to know what's going on without having to come down to here to the town and talk about it. And so I think that whoever's putting together the consent agenda should be more observant of what the items are. Just one item, for example, authorizing award of a contract for $230,000 and change. All right, there was another one, there was a consent agenda to, with respect to the agreement for the hold harmless agreement with respect to our appraisals. There's an amendment to the original agreement. I mean, these are not, in my opinion, standard kinds of things that should be on the agenda, on the consent agenda, because, people come to the meetings. We don't have time to go to the town hall and research all this stuff. So a little dialogue of these things help us understand what's going on in the township and make us more aware of how our dollars are being spent. Thank you.
You got it. Thank you. Moving on.
Council President.
Mrs. Coleman?
Council President.
After.
After what, Council President?
When I'm done with this. Mrs. Coleman?
Good evening, Emily Coleman, 18 Lakeshore Drive. I have 3 items that I just wanted to mention to you guys. Number one, I don't know if, I know a lot of people have been here when I've spoken about this, but the 2020 census is still hiring. We're starting our second operation. So if anybody is interested in applying, I have cards. You go to 2020census.gov/jobs. So if anybody would like information about that. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, as a frequent walker around White Meadow Lake, I've noticed that the neighbor news is now being tossed onto everybody's driveway in plastic bags, and I literally spend half my walk picking up these newspapers in plastic bags, and I was wondering if we could maybe talk to the neighbor news about maybe not doing this. The third thing that I wanted to mention to you was lawn signs, and I was just wondering if during the next election we could maybe have, I don't know if it needs to be an ordinance or something, but if people want to have lawn signs on their lawns, that's cool, but these lawn signs on public property is really an eyesore, and then it's always like a fight, who's taking them down, who's not taking them down, who's trashing them. And I just think it would be awesome if maybe we just don't have them on our public property. The other thing is, these are my friends, and they were late because of a personal issue, and they would just like to speak to the council, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, please just say your name and address for the record.
Amy and Shachar Rosen, 41 Lakeshore Drive.
Thank you.
And my father, who's also a 35-year resident, was in the hospital. He's in the emergency room, so I didn't get here in time to actually speak for the vote tonight. We are actually showing up as people who rent with Airbnb, so it's not true that no one ever shows up. We are here. And we are disappointed by the results. We have done that for a number of years with absolutely no problem. I think there was only one problem, as far as I know, with one house on the lake that got sold, and that problem is done. We've never had one complaint, not from our neighbors, not from anyone, and we're very responsible as how we go about that. We have 2 kids in college, and we want to keep our house, so it helps us to be able to afford that. Otherwise, perhaps we won't be able to pay the taxes here, which are well over $16,000, $17,000 a year. As I said, I think it's, obviously we were late now for the vote, but I do think it is excessive, both in the 30 days, and if I understand it correctly, it's for the full dwelling as well as any room in the house, which I don't see how that could be a problem for anybody if we're actually home and we have someone, like there are people that come and work in the area and maybe can't afford to get a whole apartment, and we help, and it's very nice. We had someone recently, they stayed for a few weeks, they stayed with us for Thanksgiving. It's not a problem, but apparently it's been really blown out of proportion because of this one house, which I believe took advantage of that type of thing because they had people coming every day and turning over. We would never do that. And I think that they sold the house. They never lived here in the neighborhood. I've lived here at White Meadow Lake for 30 years. So I wanted to express that it's not exactly as is being perceived. I think that that is a very isolated incident in White Meadow Lake. I don't know about the rest of Rockaway. I think you're punishing all of people in Rockaway for something that happened in one house in White Meadow Lake. And we follow and abide by the rules of White Meadow Lake, which have recently also just, shifted a little bit, and we sent a letter back to the town, and we're in compliance with that. We are very upstanding members. We pay our dues every year, and it's really not an issue. So it never was until this one house became an issue.
Jonathan, Council President, if I may, real quick.
Hold on 1 second.
I also wanted to say something. Yeah, and thank
Your
you.
name, please?
David Rosen, yeah, same address. I think that we are a middle-class town, and it's not easy times for anyone. When I walk around the lake, there are at least 3 or 4 houses that are vacated, empty, falling into decay. People who couldn't make it. We have had people here in our house that we hosted, just great American people. We had people who were executives in pharmaceuticals. We had computer science people. We had
judges.
Professors, judges. 2 of our guests actually ended up buying houses
At
on
least
the lake.
2, maybe 3.
2 that we know of.
Yeah.
And are now paying dues in the school.
Taxes.
So yeah, we are disappointed, and we hope, and we don't know if there is a procedure to re-examine it and reconsider it. That will be really terrific if we could give that a consideration.
If I may, Council President, real quick.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to the microphone, and I don't know if you were here when I had originally asked the question, and Councilman Jeniak was making some statements of some information that we received today from an Airbnb.
Okay.
Mrs. Ferrante, with regard to the question I had asked previously, and again, I'm not sure if the residents or property owners here were here during that time, the key component that we have here in the prohibited uses, but it does say the article does not apply to lawfully established, in this case, bed and breakfasts. So in order for them to be a lawfully established and not have the burden of this ordinance affect them, but again, being compliant with what we have, is there some assistance that we can provide them with information to make sure that maybe they're non-conforming, they need a letter of non-conformity, I make an application for that, or maybe there's a zoning permit that they need to make a application for. Of course, they can always try to appeal the decision in court, but to assist in this situation, as they had indicated, we're not trying to deter lawful activity, we're trying to deter unlawful activity. And I just want to make sure that's clear and that the residents at the microphone are understanding of that, and maybe our administration can provide additional information to maybe minimize the scare and the potential financial loss that they have with what they have been doing, thinking it's lawful, because there's no ordinance anyways to begin with to govern it. So, again, I don't know if there's a pre-existing nonconformity that's happening with this particular parcel, but maybe you can kind of follow up on that or extend.
Sure, you're always welcome to reach out to the administration and to have dialogue with us. Anything that we put in place it's not going to be perfect. There's going to always be a pro and a con for what we do. We try to do what's in the best interest of the town when we craft ordinances and when we put things in place. Unfortunately, it's a town of 25,000 people, and there's always going to be pluses and minuses in what we do. But there's always adjustments that can be made to ordinances, to things that we do. Sometimes we can repeal ordinances. I'm not saying that we're going to do that in this case. I'm just trying to let you understand the process. So it starts off as, we put an ordinance in place. In the past, we have adjusted things. There's mechanisms in place that you always feel free to look into. It's your property. We have to govern in the town in a way that is, suits the neighborhoods, that suits our community as best. We're not looking to hurt anybody financially or to cause anybody any angst. So you always feel free to reach out to our administration, to myself or to anyone in our department. I'll let Allison speak, our engineer, for a moment. Thank you.
Yes, I would echo that you can reach out to us in engineering or planning or Dave Dyer here following this meeting and see what, if anything, we could do on the matter.
Yep. In my opinion, I think it would be more reasonable to have something like a 7-day even, which would also, that would be an adjustment for us for some of it, but most of the time it's more like, so 30 days is quite excessive in my opinion. 1 or 2 days is, I can understand not wanting to have that because you have like this constant, that could be difficult if someone does buy a house and does not act in a respectful way to their neighbors. But something a little bit more, in my opinion, a little bit more flexible. If someone comes for a week, that's, you know what I'm saying?
And just for clarification, our guests are always 3 generations: grandparents, parents, kids. It's not anyone that is going to do.
We don't allow any
anything.
parties
We don't allow
at
any
all.
Parties, and I can assure you that we speak for a large group of people in a town of 20.
We understand. Reach out to us, give us a
Okay.
call, and we'll be glad to discuss anything that you.
So there might be something we can do.
There's always something, we can at least offer you a discussion.
Okay.
Council
Yeah.
President, go ahead.
Thank
A
you.
few things here. The one thing that you have to consider if you were going to go like the Airbnb route, okay, there's rules and regulations that are established by codes, okay, and it's more or less a safety code more than it is anything. Where, for example, you have to have horn and strobes in your rooms. Like you need poles, you need, the fire official would need to go around and do certain assessments to make sure that the doors are compliant with ADA. So there's a lot of other things that could be done when you would hire an architect in order to go through and get that approved and go through the zoning and everything else. So I would think Mr. Kelly's correct, that if you're going the correct route, that it might be doable, but I understand the situations that were going on.
Yeah,
I think that we were completely legal until about 15 minutes ago. Everything we were doing was absolutely legal.
Not necessarily.
Well, I mean, as
Correct.
Mr. Brooks had stated, the concern would be, the ordinance is to save life and limb and protect everybody that's there, and as well as the quality of life in the community or the area that's happening. But again, and I hate to be redundant on the same word, but lawfully. And that's the key component. And if you really believe that, you're compliant and everything there, and it meets the requirements there. Because Rockaway is mimicking another town that was mimicking another town because of these issues that had arisen. And things are different now.
I did come and register as an official renter years ago with Rockaway, so we're on the books as that. I don't see what's.
But the application for the renters is not indicating if you're a B&B or what kind of rental you are.
No, but it is renting, and neither does this ordinance specify if it's Airbnb. And I don't understand why, if it's 30 days or more, what you're talking about somehow applies differently. Wouldn't that still apply? So, I don't see how that saves people from risking life and limb, because if you're 30 days or more, suddenly you don't have to do that. It just doesn't exactly.
Ma'am, I would call the administration,
Okay.
give us a call, and we could discuss this further.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And then the ordinance, have you grabbed the ordinance on the table?
Yes.
You did, okay.
Thank
Council
you.
President.
You got something for that?
Yeah.
What do we got?
So, just so that it's clear to everyone, the ordinance that was passed this evening does effectively kill Airbnb in Rockaway Township. With regard to further steps, as was mentioned, the council can repeal that ordinance. If the council chooses not to do that, it is before the mayor. The mayor can veto this ordinance. So when you meet with the mayor, you should ask the mayor to veto it so that the council will start over and take some more time and look at this carefully and not such a heavy hand.
We're going to have dialogue with the folks who spoke at the microphone. Thank you.
Just two quick things going back from Mrs. Sweet's question. First, Ms. Seeger, if you can thank all the department heads that helped out in the storm, we'd appreciate that. Also, I know she had mentioned last meeting about the lawsuits. I don't know if you had the numbers. You were able to put that together? Or I know she had asked you last meeting.
Council President, we did a rough accounting. We don't have individual allocations yet,
Okay.
but the amount paid by all litigation instituted this year is already well over $200,000 in county.
Have we exceeded our
Thank
budget?
We have 3 lawsuits that are going to be before the court tomorrow. Mr. Jedniak's lawsuit, Mr. Kelly's lawsuit, and the Schmidt-Hollenbeck et al. Lawsuit. They've all been consolidated.
Thank you. Also, with Mr. Crane, do we have any information from Mr. Crane about the title he was asking about?
I would have to ask the clerk about that. I have not heard.
No, it wasn't waiting on approval from you in order to move forward with the application. At the time, we were waiting on a check. The application and the green, what I keep calling the green sheet, for the vehicle itself needs to go down to the state with a check. That's what we were waiting on. There was an issue with the application itself. It was sent back to my office. That's since been corrected, and it should be going out in the mail tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs.
Very
Seeger,
good.
just to follow up on that, Mr. Council President, this isn't the only one. And the other issue that there are some other vehicles and other, this isn't just affecting Mr. Crane. There's also other tow vendors that it's affecting as well.
Other
We've
lost
had discussions
stuff?
with those other tow vendors,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
we are working on resolving those
And
issues.
the concern I even have with that is that some of those vehicles are off-road vehicles, they don't even get issued a title, they're a non-title registration. So I'm even lost even some of those things to get a title, when they can't even achieve the title for the.
Okay, she's working on it, she said. Okay, thank you. Moving on to
Council
consent
President.
agenda.
Council President, I was waiting patiently for Mr. Dio's comments that you said we would come back to. Mr. Dio, who spoke earlier, you said we would come back to it after.
Okay, let's make it quick.
Thank you, Council President. Council President, Mr. Dio's comments had to do with the consent agenda, which, Mr. Dio, 2 meetings ago, I raised the same concerns about discussion and items being, what I would say, incorrectly placed on the consent agenda that require further discussion before the public. Mr. Dio pointed out that the township website agenda did not have any links. So I check that before I walk in here every meeting, and I can confirm that. For whatever reason, the public had an agenda, but had no bodies of the resolutions or ordinances. None of the information beyond the 4 pages of agenda was made available to the public on the website.
Mrs. Seeger, could you answer that?
Yes, I just went to the website, and the original agenda that was put up had all the links, so it's still there.
Okay.
When Ms. Clipperton updated the agenda, I don't know who put it up there,
Okay.
the links weren't on the update. But if you clicked on the previous one,
It's there.
they're all there. I just did it right now, and
Okay.
they are available.
Thank you. Good, moving on. Consent agenda number 9. We have A, R19-205, B, R19-206, C, R19-207, D, R19-208, E, R19-209, F, R19-210, G, R19-211, H, R19-212, I, R19-213, J, R19-214, K, R19-215, L, R19-216, M, R19-217, N, R19-218, O, R19-219, P, R19-220, Q, R19-221, R, R19-222, S, R19-223, T, R19-224. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Council President. Council President,
Yes.
I'd like to remove some items from the consent agenda for further discussion
No.
this
Please
evening.
call the roll.
Council President, I
No.
object.
Please call the roll.
Council President, I'm referencing
Yeah,
Code
Please
2-5.1
call
with
the roll.
regard to
You have
objections.
we have a few minutes left on your councilmanship, so just sit there and
Council
let us finish the
President,
meeting.
Council President, I'm
Call the
objecting
roll.
to your decision.
Good.
Code 2-5.1 says there
Please
must
call
be a
the roll.
vote on that.
Councilmember Abrahamson?
No.
How can you call a roll when we have a motion to talk about things on the consent agenda?
We're calling the roll.
But we're violating the code.
We're not violating. Call the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Vote yes, no, or abstain.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember New?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
I'm not aware of a lot of things here, so I have to abstain.
Councilmember Brooks?
Abstain.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
Councilmember Jednak?
No.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
President Sackett?
Yes. So we have 5 yeses, 3 noes, 1 abstention, motion carries. Moving on to L, old business.
Council President,
Is it going to be the same stuff from last time?
I have old business, Council President.
Same stuff from last time?
I don't know last time.
Is it going to be the
It's
same
old business,
stuff?
Council President. I'm waiting
Okay,
for it, I'm
let's
waiting
go.
to be
Let's go.
recognized. Thank you, Council President.
You're welcome.
Council President, I'd like to discuss Resolution R-19-218 on this evening's agenda that was
Nope.
just voted on.
What else?
Is reason why you won't allow me to
Because we're not,
discuss it?
anything else?
Council President, I'd like to make a motion to rescind and repeal Resolution R-19-218.
I'll second that motion.
Anything else?
Council President, you have a motion and a second. That typically means we have
Call the roll.
discussion.
Call the roll.
Council President, we have discussion when there's a motion and a second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I do have
What is it?
discussion.
Councilman Jedenak, can you please just repeat that for me so I can note it in the minutes?
Sure. For the benefit of the clerk, the motion is to repeal and rescind Resolution R-19-218. Thank you for allowing discussion on this repeal motion, Council President. We weren't able to have discussion on the item itself. Resolution R-19-218 is the resolution that was referenced by Mr. Dio during the public comment portion, where he actually stated he would have liked to have some greater understanding as to what this purpose of this resolution is. The title of the resolution is authorizing the execution of a supplemental agreement to indemnification and hold harmless agreement between the Township of Rockaway and Appraisal Systems. The resolution that was not linked, but might have been in a previous version on the website, doesn't include documentation that the council received, which includes a letter from Jacqueline Gioso of the Buzak Law Group, as well as a previous such agreement that is from October 1st, 2019. The public didn't have the benefit of seeing any of these things, and if they didn't know to check the previous version of the agenda, they wouldn't have even been able to find the resolution text itself. So, Council President, I'd like the public to understand what this resolution is. So, can you explain it or have the administration do so?
Sure, Mrs. Fronte? Oh, Pat.
This is from the assessor's
sorry.
office, and when the assessor assesses property over by the mall, they get the appraisers get certain information that they have to use to value the business, and that is not public or operable, and it's to make sure that nobody gives out the information from the businesses to the public. It's just making sure everybody's aware of the agreement. And it's been done in the past a couple of times. It's nothing new.
Thank you. Seeing anything else, we can, I guess, call the roll on this.
Councilmember Abrahamson?
Abstain.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're voting to repeal it.
Oh,
So if you
repeal?
vote yes, you're repealing.
No.
Councilmember Friedlander?
No.
Councilmember Noon? No. Councilmember Kelly?
Abstain.
Councilmember Brooks?
Too many mics are on.
Mr. Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Jedenak?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
No.
President Sackett?
No. 6 noes, 2 abstentions, 1 yes, motion fails.
Council
Moving
President.
on. Any new business?
Council President, I still have old business.
Okay.
Thank you. Council President, Resolution R-19-220, that was on the agenda this evening that we voted, on the consent agenda that we voted on.
Uh-huh.
That resolution is a resolution authorizing and approving a soil disturbance permit for residents in the township. The resolution references some conditions in the fifth paragraph, fifth whereas paragraph, and then if you look at item number 2, it lists those conditions as A through D. But the first sentence of item number 2 says, "The Township Council has reviewed and accepted the application." This resolution did not have any application attached to it, and therefore this council couldn't have reviewed. So you voted on a resolution saying that you had reviewed and accepted the application, but had never actually disseminated that application to the council. Does that concern you, Council President, that you voted on something that was incomplete? Concerns me, and I think it should concern the taxpayers, Council President.
The engineer would like to speak.
Ms. Ferrante?
Yes, the application and all necessary information was provided.
Thank you.
Provided to whom? Because it never made it to the council. It's not in the backups from the clerk. I double-checked. Council President, I'd like to move on with old business.
Are we going through everyone?
No,
Trying to keep us here all night?
of course not,
Okay,
Council
come on.
President.
Of course not.
Council President, Council President, Resolution R-19-221 that we just voted on is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract in the total amount of $230,000, $718.60. The third paragraph references written recommendations by the township engineer. This resolution has no attachments, including a copy of any such letter from the engineer. It is not in the backup documentation. Council President, if you pull up your phone as you did earlier and look at it, you will not be able to show it to me because it does not exist in the documents that the clerk brought us.
Good, what else? Next.
Doesn't it concern you that you vote on something that was incomplete?
Next.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yes, Council President, thank you. Council President, Resolution R-19-223 that we also voted on under the consent agenda is another soil disturbance permit, Council President. Section 2 says the township has reviewed and accepted the application and recommendations of the township engineer. And again, in this case, there is an application that's included. So we have it in one case, we don't have it in the other, and perhaps this is why it ought to be included, because if you look at the application closely, you'll see that the applicant's signature is blank, the clerk's signature is blank, and the date received by the clerk is blank. So it's an incomplete application. And perhaps that's why we are asked to review these things by law. And that's why the text of the resolution says that. So, Council President, does it concern you that you had, yet again, incomplete information when you voted?
Next.
Thank you, Council President. Resolution, yes, Council President, Resolution R-
You got 30 seconds.
Resolution R-9, Council President, I spent less time speaking than the time we spent speaking with JCP&L. Resolution R-19-224 is a developer's agreement between Foxview Realty and the township. This was not presented to the council at a meeting. I don't recall any discussion on it. Could this resolution be explained for the benefit of the public?
Sure. Ms. Ferrante?
Sure. For the record, I want to state that all necessary backup documents were supplied.
To whom? Because they didn't make it to the council.
In regards to the developer's agreement, this is a condition of a resolution of approval from the planning board for this development.
Thank you.
And for the record, this application is not signed till after the council approves it. Then the applicant will be signed by the clerk, and then it will be a completed application. But it can't be till after it's voted.
It's not even signed by the applicant. Why would it not be signed by the applicant, at least?
Thank you. Mr. Kelly?
Under old business, I had a member of the public, Mr. Lardy, had reached out to us regarding Wawa. And I just wanted to follow up from what's going on or what's not going on. and I just had a couple of questions and maybe helping Mr. Larry get the answers that he was asking for last time. Mrs. Fronte, have we developed an escrow amount yet for Wawa for having their, for services that they are going to utilize to get information with regard to the corridor and the DOT with the on and off ramp of Route 80?
John, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to defer that to you.
As I explained at the last council meeting, Mr. Kelly, the matter is in the hands right now of the attorneys for the Varicchia Group, who are the, I guess you'd call them business developers for Wawa. The township has made a proposal to them. I spoke to the attorney as lately as approximately 2 days ago. The attorney has been authorized to interface with our planner, Dave Novak, and our engineer, Ms. Ferrante, to review the plan that the township has submitted. And one of the subjects of that discussion, if in fact the developer or the proposed developers are in agreement with the township's position on the matter, one of the discussions will concern the assessment of escrows. In fact, Ms. Ferranti and I had a meeting today about the escrow subject, but right now there are no escrows that have been fixed.
Okay, because when Mr. Mayor Puzio had asked, the one email, I know it goes back to August 9th, the position that we had, which was from you, Mr. Yetrafano, it says, I've been requested to inform you that the administration is not prepared to recommend or support a zone or master plan change at this time. And then there was also other emails that actually questioned.
What's your question, Mr. Kelly?
Well, it was about the escrow moving forward, because if I remember correctly,
I've answered that question.
In some of the chains, the question was
Chains?
the chains of emails. The escrow was exceeding of what we have in our own ordinances of what would be requested from an applicant.
There's been no escrow requested or agreed upon at this time. So
Okay.
how can you say anything's exceeding anything?
That was one thing, Mr. Larry, I hope that answered a little bit to what your question was last. The second form of new business is the Scout project that the young man had brought to council. If there's anything that we have moving forward with that, if we need to assist any further. Mrs. Ferrante?
Let's get his dad to do it.
The scouting project?
Yeah, I haven't been asked to look into anything in that matter.
Mrs. Seeger?
Yeah, I was at the Eagle Scout Court of Honor where someone was inducted to the Eagle Scout.
At the Lutheran Church?
That would be correct. I spoke to the boy who was doing the project. I spoke to his father. I told him once again I had a personal sit down with him at that event. He happened to be there. I told him to continue to reach out to us, and we will facilitate. Once again, I said this at the last meeting. We are always in favor of helping our Boy Scouts or any projects that benefit Rockaway Township, that benefit our youth. There is a process that we have to follow. Whenever you're putting something on town property, there's always insurance issues. There's insurance issues. There's a whole host of moving parts before we do anything like this. It's not difficult, but I'm here as mayor, our administration is here, and as well as the council, to protect Rockaway Township, to make sure things get done right, including the Wawa. I'll go back to that as well. There's a process. I will, as your mayor, I'm going to make sure that projects are done correctly and that they're done and the process is followed. I will not run around with my hair on fire just to get something pushed through. And sometimes that's a detriment, but I want to make sure that things are done correctly, not expedient all the time, but correctly. So you have a final project that suits our town as best as it can. Our Director of Recreation, Brian, is setting up a meeting with the young man.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, and you know, since you jumped around in the two, the Varicchia Group's been doing this for almost 3 years, just trying to get themselves forward to the next level. And then there's also the individual that's trying to sell the property so they can actually expand their business within Rockaway to better their situation. I understand that.
I've been mayor for a year, so many things I've inherited. I've inherited things from 30 years ago.
Sure.
We talk about We'll bring up some old, I don't want to rehash some old projects. We talk about the sewer commission that was mentioned tonight. I've inherited things from 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's going to take me, so be patient with me, folks. It's going to take me, it's going to take the administration some time to catch up on things that have been kicked
Yeah,
down the
and I
road.
believe you're trying to prioritize and get some of those things moving
Trying
forward.
very hard to prioritize. We
And I
have the
appreciate
fields
that.
that we want to build. We have projects in town. We have the bridge that's getting done right now through the county engineering department. We just had a storm. I just hired another Class 3 special. We're trying to do some good things in the town. I'm actually looking into doing the dog park up north that you had recommended.
That's my next thing to talk about, yep.
Yep, that's something that I'm looking into. We have budget season right now. Unfortunately, folks, government does not move fast or fast enough. So I apologize if things aren't moving fast enough. I have to prioritize on a daily basis in real time. The administration is very different than the council. We deal with personnel issues that come through our office on a day-to-day basis, contract issues, lawsuits, all sorts of things. Any of the extra things pull away from our function to move the town forward. So the less we have in terms of shenanigans, as I like to call it, the quicker things get done.
And with that being said, and I appreciate you giving the mayor all the time to speak. The question.
He was
I had,
answering
though,
your questions.
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
The one comment, Mr. Mayor, was that the individual for the scouting project, he wasn't trying to do anything wrong or do anything,
I didn't infer anything.
Well, you were saying that you wanted to do things lawfully and legally. He wasn't trying to go down that route. All he wanted to do.
I didn't say
Excuse me,
that. I
Mr.
said
Mayor.
there's a process.
He was trying.
No, sir,
He was
Councilman.
trying.
I said
You were
there's
trying
a
to give the wrong
process to
information,
follow.
Mr. Kelly.
He was trying to bring something of a proposal
Yeah,
to the council,
it's-
that's all.
no.
And I wanted to see what the status was.
Yeah,
Instead,
he's working on it.
Okay,
I have a council member that
it's
says,
not
"Where's the
something-
paper
see,
and I'm
here's-
providing this proposal."
Here's what I'm talking about. The process
Yeah.
wasn't followed.
Yeah,
We have
exactly.
a council person
There's no
who
process.
doesn't understand
Yeah, there is.
Anybody
It's
can
supposed to go to
submit anything to the
administration,
council.
not to
the
the council.
administration.
Anybody can submit it to the council.
The administration deals with these types of projects, not the council.
Correct.
So I'm
He was
trying.
part of the project.
Correct. The
Mr.
council
Mayor, I
does
have
not
one last
deal with
thing so we
Eagle
can get
Scout
off of this
projects.
issue.
The administration deals with them. So
No, this
it's
is what I
proper
brought
to
up.
turn the young man over to the administration, to Brian Coward, our recreational person, and then he will facilitate it.
Yeah, you have somebody
I'm trying
say
to
not
cut out
to issue
unnecessary
36
steps.
pages of
That's
paper.
all I'm trying to do.
Saving $1.80. Way to go, Mr. Jackson.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I
Yeah,
will.
exactly. How many open requests you done this year?
Giving me the information, you won't need
How
it.
many requests have you done?
Very little.
How many lawsuits?
Very little, buddy.
How much you costing us, buddy?
Very little.
Let's move on.
The last thing was
anything good, productive?
They're all productive.
Okay, no, they're not.
Yeah.
No, they're not. Nothing's been
The
productive.
dog park, Mr.
Nothing's been
Mayor,
productive.
was the one thing from doing the information I was gathering.
Those are good,
There was
actually.
something that I
Thank you.
questioned was a dog park versus an unleashing area or an unleashing station. And some of the municipalities had brought that to my attention in regards to, if it's a dog park, it's hard to maintain and enforce, because anybody, not just the residents of Rockaway, anybody could use it. But if it's an unleashing area, it's an extension of our park ordinance, it could be limited to only Rockaway residents. So I didn't know which way, if there was an interest in just leaving it only, like, Germania Park is exclusive, right, to just Rockaway residents rather than the open public from anywhere, transient people stopping through the area, neighboring towns. And I don't know what maybe the position of the administration
Well,
was.
there is no position yet. First, we can't put the cart before the horse. I would like to look into building it, if it's feasible up there, if it's Green Acres property. There's a lot of things that I'm not mentioning here, because I'm not going to keep everyone here till 12 o'clock at night. You have to have a little trust in the, administration, the folks that you elected. We're always willing to answer questions. Give us a call during the day, and we can, Pat Seeger or any of our other professionals will speak with you. First, I would like to build, there's a process. If we're going to choose to move forward with that, we're going to build a dog park, see if it's feasible in that area. And then we'll look at ordinances and things like that. You can't, put rules in for something that isn't there yet. But very good ideas, Councilman Kelly,
No, you just asked to
absolutely.
come up with a plan, so I was trying to make a whole entire plan for you to assist what
Yep.
we were doing moving forward.
I
Still
think-
haven't heard anything from the state of New Jersey through the administration.
Yeah, it's been,
It's even a green light to go forward, even to make a plan. That's what I would do first.
Well, that's what I just said. You're talking about ordinances,
I
about
know.
unleashing and stuff, so yes, we would have to do just what I said. We would have to have a plan to see if we could move forward. Once we get to that point, and feel free to speak with Pat Seeger or our engineer Allison. I've already said that. Give them a call. Anyone on the council can reach out. I say this over and over and over again ad nauseum. You can reach out to administration, reach out to Pat. Pat will have a sit-down with the department heads, so we have a chain of command, a flow.
Yeah.
So we can go, the chain goes up, the chain goes down, because it becomes disjointed when it's done any other way.
Isn't there a memo actually contradicting that? I mean, you have a memo telling us not to talk to him.
To talk to the business administrator?
You can talk to
Administration, I don't consider Pat the sole individual for administration.
She's in charge of administration.
She is.
Yeah, she's in charge.
Thank you.
Moving on to reports, please.
Council President.
Start with
we didn't-
Mr. Kelly.
Council President, you skipped new business.
He just did new business. Did you have new business also?
I
asked.
didn't hear you ask for new business, I
Did
only
you have
heard
new
old business.
It's just bizarre, is what it is.
Yeah, so, Council President, we received in our email a letter from the clerk that was forwarded to us regarding a small claims case. I don't recall any discussion about that, I didn't see anything in the minutes. Can the council be brought up to speed on the small claims case against the township?
That, related to litigation? We're not going to speak about that tonight. Thank you.
Anything
So
else?
how would the council understand further regarding that litigation, small claims?
We're not going to speak about that tonight.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
Council President, my question to you is how would a council member obtain information as to what the status or what the reason is for that litigation? Council President.
Call the administrator tomorrow. Next.
Council
You can call the administrator
President.
tomorrow. Anything else on that?
Call whom?
Call Business Administrator Seeger tomorrow. Thank you.
And she will
Anything else?
advise council
Give her a
members
call
regarding.
tomorrow.
And she will advise council members
Give her a
regarding
call
that?
tomorrow. Talk to her about it. Anything else?
Yes, Council President. Since the mayor raised the issue of the sewer assessments, my question, the Sewer Assessment Commission, and by what date can the tax-paying public expect that Councilmember Quinn will finally pay his tax assessment?
Oh, yeah, sure, Mr.
It's only been 25 years, hasn't it, Councilmember Quinn?
Has it? Really?
You're not here anymore.
Yeah,
Taking
why don't you
health
try
benefits that
something
entire
else?
time, maybe you could pay your
Sonny
sewer assessment.
Sonny boy, grow up.
Anything else? Anything else? Anything else?
Thank you. Just to follow up.
Yeah,
Real
Sonny
quick,
boy's gotta grow up.
Yep.
If I may.
Mike's.
Mr. Yetrafano, when we have a settlement that's there, does it have to have the consent of the council?
I'm not discussing pending litigation,
Oh,
Mr. Kelly.
it's not even litigation in general under our code, under 26-3 with,
What are you talking about?
Wait, what are you talking? What are
under
what-
our
Just
code,
verbal numbers,
under
Mr.
our
Kelly.
code,
I don't have an interpreter.
Yeah,
It's
what
pending
what are you talking
litigation,
about?
I'm not discussing.
under our
Thank you.
code, does the council have to consent for a settlement? Any settlement? You're not gonna answer that simple question about the code?
Nope.
I'm
Moving
Thank
on.
you.
He's not answering it.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Make sure it's in the record.
Council reports. We'll start with you, Mr. Kelly.
First, I want to say, I wish the best to Fire Chief Mike Heath. Mike Heath is giving up his chief position, and Chief Aragona is going to take over of that, and then Deputy Chief Russo will be taking over that in 2020. So I wanted to say that Chief Heath has done a phenomenal job with the fire department as well as Company One. He is always active, always out there, always the first to help out the men and do what he best as he can, taking away time from his family, and he's very devoted and passionate from the fire department, so I want to wish him the best in 2020. As far as the snow, we have a new DPW director, Al Noth. Al and all the employees and all the departments did a phenomenal job clearing the streets, along with the county, because they work in unison and do a phenomenal job with that. The one thing is JCP now, they did the best that they could with informing all of us. I hope that we can figure a way of informing the public for the information that we receive, on real time, to maybe calm some of the concerns that they have and give them some answers moving forward. So Mr. Flynn was great with all that, as well as the linemen and even dispatch. The other thing is I attended on Friday night the Rockaway Rockets varsity dinner at Picatinny. And I want to just mention some of the individuals here. With the football program themselves, we have the head coach, Craig Masker. We have Mr. Blair, Mr. Connolly. Well, we have Justin Connolly and Sean Connolly. We have Tom Garvey, Vinny Lazzardi. We have Ken Walter and Tom Warner. And then with the cheer, we have the head coach is Tara Walter and Amanda Barron, and we have Ellie Hebelik. But one person I wanted to identify out of all this, he's a very humble person, is Ken Walter. Also, Howard Kritz, too, was a huge component of this. And Mr. Kritz had brought to the attention that the Rockets had come into life in 1959. I was a Rocket in the late 70s and early 80s, and I've seen a lot of guys that have gone through it, and of course played with different ones in Morse Knolls and against others in Morse Hills. But one individual sticks out the most out of this is Ken Walter. The program itself has been in existence for 60 years. Ken Walter has been in the program and volunteered and participated with the program for almost half of that time. He's almost hit 30 years of service with that. His son is out, and his son Kevin is a wonderful football player in Knowles, and he still helps out and participates. And he's a very humble guy. I mean, they took over the program from when Mr. Jackson had it, and they've really made a very successful program again. And I just wanted to reach out and say that the banquet was wonderful, the video was great, all the participants that were there, the girls and the cheerleading, as well as the young men that were players for their last year. And also, the venue was phenomenal, right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Now, Andy's not having Zers in anymore, from what we understand from the fire banquet that we have. And I don't know if you were looking around the area to see if it could size up for something like that, but I heard it was very reasonable. The food was phenomenal. The atmosphere was great. The service was just impeccable as well. So maybe we could look into that for the fire banquet, because they're going to be looking for a venue. Maybe that could be a potentiality.
I mean, the fire department really, in essence, runs themselves. They take care of that. That's, we don't do it. We don't run the fire department per se.
Well, Bob Shear was involved with that.
He was the director.
Yeah.
I don't know to what extent, to be honest with you. I don't know to what extent the fire department is involved in that, but we're always willing.
Yeah, we talked to him about that in the budget period about that. I thought he was very involved.
If they need help, we're always willing. Absolutely.
And then I want to wish everybody a happy Hanukkah and a Merry Christmas. I hope everybody has a great, safe, wonderful holiday with all their families. And be very careful tomorrow with the snow that's coming. But I'm convinced our DPW and the county are going to do a phenomenal job cleaning the roads.
Thank you. Mr. Quinn?
Thank you. Yes, we have probably the best snow removal team in Morris County, probably the state. Our guys do a hell of a job, and I'm very proud of them. I, too, attended the football banquet for cheerleading and football. It was excellent. As other council people here were on, they'll explain what they did. It was well attended, and these kids put their heart and soul into it. It's great. All right, and the last thing that I'll say is everybody have a happy, healthy, and safe Christmas, Hanukkah, and New Year. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Mr. Friedlander?
Yeah, a couple of things. The library, if anybody is interested, the Hibernia branch is being repaired as we speak, and the date supposedly could be done by January. It should be done in January. This Thursday, December 12th, 6 o'clock, is the ribbon cutting ceremony at the main library branch for the quiet room. The Historical Society had a great year, a lot of fantastic programs, and they had the Victorian Christmas Saturday, which the mayor read.
Manny played one of the reindeers.
And there was a big elf there with a red nose.
Yeah, I was Rudolph.
We had some fun. It was a lot of kids enjoyed it.
They had a scavenger hunt, and it was well attended. as far as that goes, really, yeah, my best to the DPW. You should leave now and start the engines for tomorrow, but they'll do it. And just have a happy and a healthy holiday time, Hanukkah, Christmas, and New Year. It'll be around the corner.
Thank you. Ms. Noon?
Yes, just to piggyback on the snow removal, excellent job. The football banquet, excellent time. And Merry Christmas, and Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy New Year. See you next year.
Thank you. Ms. Abramson? Mr. Jeniak?
Thank you, Council President. Council President, I hate to rain on the parade with regard to snow removal, but I think it's important to share some experiences. The eastern side of town, the primary entrance to the town is Split Rock Road and then Decker. As you're aware, there was a tree down on Meriden which connects to Decker. I came upon a person who was stuck going up Decker in the snowstorm. I myself got stuck going up Split Rock when I backed up after helping them out. And, it was nice to see neighbors helping neighbors. I appreciate those who helped me turn my car back around on the second trip and go back down the long way around to Old Beach Glen. But those roads often get a lot of snow. They're steep. They're hard to travel for cars that aren't capable of doing that. So after that, as I was driving my third route, I called dispatch to let them know that the snow was bad enough that either it needed additional plowing or should simply be closed to prevent other people from getting stuck. The dispatcher with whom I spoke, and I didn't get the name, informed me that Town Hall had closed and that there was nobody to contact for that, which I thought was an interesting response to get. And I suggested that the road crew should be out and probably would be reachable through dispatch, right, because it's all the same radio system. So I think there's some room for improvement in the communication there between dispatch and the road crew. As I was coming up Meriden, the part that wasn't closed, I did come upon the road crew plowing those streets, and I did stop to speak with them, and they did at that time tell me that somebody was going over to take care of those. So somehow the message ultimately got through, but I think there is some room for improvement there with regard to communication, especially in a storm like that. Council President, I appreciated and was pleasantly surprised to hear Council President, I appreciated and was pleasantly surprised to hear Mayor Puzio repeatedly use the word process today. A month ago, I had concerns about process when the mayor made an appointment without it being on, the name being on the agenda, without any information being provided to the council in advance of that. The lack of process there and transparency both for the public and the council certainly concerned me, and I hope that this is a new leaf for the mayor to improve on that for the future. Another item that I have, Council President, is, you've been Council President for a little while now, and it's certainly clear that discussion is allowed to happen less often than it had in the past. Council President, would you like to bring the room to order, or would you simply like to have your cronies interrupt me while I speak? I'd like to be able to speak without being interrupted.
It is his last meeting. Let's give him a minute. Let's give him his time.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Council President.
You got it.
So if discussion continues to be cut short, information continues to not be made to the public, not even to council members, and council members, as you saw here this evening, continue to rubber stamp incomplete resolutions and ordinances that they obviously haven't read, the taxpaying public of Rockaway Township, unfortunately, should expect in the future to see spending and taxes go up, because that's where that leads. With that, Council President, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Vice President Jackson.
I have a few things. First, the tree lighting ceremony, Mr. Swanton Mr. Coward and Ms. Scabe did a great job coordinating that. The building, the decorations look great outside. I think it was a really nice moment and good job by all them and their crews. Rockets dinner, I'd like to echo what Councilman Kelly was talking about. Ken Walter has been a real cornerstone of that program, of the Rockets program, for half his life, or more than half his life, I think. And being somebody who coached on the field next to him, different teams normally for probably 15 years, he is somebody that inspires young players to achieve great things. So, great message, and he is a really good guy, and he's done great things with the program with the help of Kevin Young, Howard Kritz, Tim Fortune, and all the other coaches and cheer coordinators. They've all done a phenomenal job. And then lastly, Sunday, I had the honor of attending an Eagle Scout ceremony. Joshua Bilkis achieved his Eagle Scout. It was a really very moving moment, and the room was filled with over half a dozen other Eagle Scouts, including the Scoutmaster, Dr. Zoller, and his son. Josh's brother is also an Eagle Scout. So having raised 2 Eagle Scouts was pretty impressive to his parents. So that's all I have. So happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you. I attended the Eagle Scout ceremony of Ryan Zoller on Sunday, December 1st with the mayor. It was an honor to be invited, and I've known Ryan for a while, having coached him in soccer and being the same age as my son. I've seen him through the years grow up to be a great young man, and he's very young, 14 years old, to achieve it, and all the different merit badges and everything he achieved were unbelievable. So yeah, so just a great thing, and to achieve Eagle Scout. I was a Scout myself. My dad was an Eagle Scout, and never made it up to Eagle Scout, but for him to do that at 14 was unbelievable. So great job to Ryan. I was also at the Christmas tree lighting we had here on Friday, the 6th. The town employees did a great job, and the Morris Hills choir was excellent as well. And after that, we quickly hurried over to the Rockets graduation dinner. So many Rockets and cheerleaders there receiving their awards for all their hard work over the years, and the Rockets organization, like everyone says, does a great job with that whole thing. Also, the next day we had the Victorian Christmas at the Ford Face House with the scavenger hunt, Mayor Puccio doing some reading there, and it was a really nice day, and Gene Licker and the rest of the Historical Society did a excellent job that day. Also, I'm pretty sure, I didn't see it on the calendar, just want to double check, Monday, December 23rd, 7 p.m. Is that still the Rockaway Township Hanukkah celebration here at the Municipal Complex?
Yes.
Okay, so still the 23rd, okay. I just didn't see an event on the calendar, so maybe you guys can put it on there. I didn't see it on there. I did look before. I didn't see it on the Facebook page or anything.
We will definitely.
Okay, I can put that on there. And I want to take the time to thank everyone for your support of me as your council president since September. It's not been easy, but I've done my best to help move Rockaway Township forward, and I look forward to 2020 and bigger and better things in days ahead with the new council in here, so thank you. And I also want to wish everyone a happy holiday season. I know there's a lot of holidays, so no matter what you celebrate, enjoy it. We all deserve it. Have a safe New Year's, and I'll see everyone at the reorganization meeting on January 7th, 2020. Thank you. Mayor?
I'd like to wish everybody a happy holiday. As we come to the close of the year, it's been an interesting year. I'll leave it at that. I'm looking forward to 2020 and to working with the council as a team, as a cohesive unit, to move Rockaway Township forward, to get projects done, to do what we need to do for the town. I'm honored that I'm going to be able to serve another 4 years as your mayor. Only thing I ask is, if you have questions, you can always feel free as residents to call our administration, to call Pat Seeger. We will gladly answer any questions. It helps us going into 2020. I want to try to be more efficient and more effective. It helps us if we know what the questions are before. You can ask them again at the council meeting. It's not a problem. But if we're primed, sometimes we need numbers, sometimes we need to look into things. If you call the administration and you ask us a particular question, if we can give you an answer, we will. If it's a legal issue and we can't, we can't. It is what it is, but we will always do our best to be helpful. I want to thank Al. Al rose to the occasion. Al Noth rose to the occasion, not here.
He's not here.
He rose to the occasion. He did a tremendous job with the storm. There's always going to be glitches. I try to focus on the positives. We have 120 or so road miles in Rockaway Township. If you double it, you do each lane, do 240. It's a lot of roads to plow. We are the largest, landmass-wise, the largest town in Morris County. With that comes some unique challenges. Plowing roads is one, and we can only do so much at a certain pace. Someone's going to be first, someone's going to be last. It's just the way it is. When you have a snowstorm, I recommend that if you can and you're not traveling from work, stay home. If there's ice on the ground, your safety is most important. I apologize if the dispatch didn't give you an answer, Councilman Jedniak. We look into issues like that. If you run into something where
They did give an answer, it just didn't make a lot of sense.
Okay, well, we'll look into that. I get complaints or issues like that on an ongoing basis. I apologize. We are always trying to do better and make our town a better place for the residents and a better place to live, work, and play. So have a great holiday season. The menorah lighting again is March 23rd.
December.
I'm sorry, March. I'm already into March, December 23rd. And I want to wish everybody a great holiday season and best to you and your families. Thank you.
Town Attorney?
Happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you. Ms. Seeger?
Happy holidays.
Ms. Palmieri?
Happy holidays, and I look forward to working with everyone in 2020.
Ms. Ferrante?
Same here. Happy holidays. Have a safe New Year.
Mr. Dyer, whose door is always open?
I was just gonna say that, what Mayor Puzio said, again, we are here to help the public. Mr. Dio, if ever any issues with downloading anything for agendas, reach out to us prior. There should be no gray issues on anything that we're doing with the agenda or any questions. We're open for business, and have a great holiday.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.